My new book, Ragam Tanam Pallavi. Is it music? Or is it murder? Or is it a murder about music? My detective, Lali, is usually thought of as the last resort in homicide. But in this book, she confronts us with the strange announcement that she has committed murder. She can't remember anything more than that. And the truth is destroying her. She has to find out. And she can't, because she can't remember when, where, or even whom she murdered. But she's very certain that she did. And the only clue she has is music. To begin with, she can't recollect what kind of music. And while she's trying to find out, she's confronted by a murder, which in some way seems to echo her memory. Connecting the two is the fabulous music of Muthuswami Dikshit. As she begins to look further into her memory and into the ideas that seem to grow around it, it feels like the exploration of a raga. And then the evidence comes in and she has to sift it over and over again. And that is the repetitive palindrome of a tanam. Finally, the story reveals itself as the Pallavi, which is the logical understanding of truth. Ragam, Tanam, Pallavi. I hope you enjoy it.
Good afternoon and welcome back to Studio 2. Our next session, Time for a Crime, is a book launch. We welcome author Vivek Vijayan in conversation with Dr. Manjari Prabhu. Vivek Vijayan, after bagging English, Tamil, Malayalam, Hindi and Sanskrit through his kitty, he's currently pursuing Korean. Research in Veda and authoring a crime thriller would serve as an ideal example of the term contrast. But it is not, for this is a plot written by an ardent admirer of Sherlock Holmes. His literary works, poems and prose alike on spirituality, politics and ancient literature have been published in most of the Malayalam dailies and magazines. Manjari Prabhu. Dr. Manjari Prabhu is an award-winning international author and an independent short film maker who's also the founder-director of two international festivals, Pune International Literary Festival and International Festival of Spiritual India. She's authored 16 books and is acknowledged as the first woman writer of mystery fiction in India. I now request our speakers to take this session forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Rucha. Hello, everyone who's watching. And Vivek, welcome to PILF.
Thank you.
How does it feel to be here?
I think I'm still living the dream. You can say that. I've been following the literary festival from its inception onwards. So it's a dream come true. Yeah, of course, yes. So it's a dream come true to be here at this prestigious event. So yeah, I'm still pinching myself to make sure that this is not a dream and I'm not going to wake up.
No, it's not a dream, and we are very privileged to have you here. Thank you for being such a huge fan of PILF. We need ardent readers and writers like you to support us. So very happy to have you here. So Vivek, I know we got an introduction from Rucha just now about you, but before I talk about you, why don't we talk about your book? And I'm very curious about it. You know, unfortunately, I haven't read it, and I will read it. But can you tell us a little bit about the book and show us the cover of it?
Of course, yes. I can show it to you now. Yes, yeah. Yeah, this is the cover, and
okay, that's great.
Yes, that's great. Okay, thank you.
Lie in Wait.
I Lie in Wait. Yes, that's the title of the book, and and it's a murder mystery like any, and it's a murder of a celebrity anchor who conducts events, and she's a famous anchor and model, and she's killed in a macabre way. And so since she's a celebrity, an investigative team is immediately formed to pursue the case. And but what would you do if the killer is one step ahead of you all the time? Before you reach there, the killer has vanished. So the team finds it difficult to zero in on him. So they seek the help of a criminal psychologist named Maya Chandrasekhar, and it is she who gives the inputs about the killer, and finally, will they catch him or not? That is the climax, with a twist, of course. There should be a twist in the tale to capture the imagination. That's true. So yeah, that's the book.
Great.
Yeah.
So since we are in the new age, the age of internet and social media, we're going to launch the book now, and for that I'm going to ring a bell.
Oh, thank you.
So we officially launch your book at PILF.
Yes, it's a privilege and an honor. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You can ask her to. Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. So, okay. Thank you. Yeah.
Right now, so Vivek, your background. I've been reading about you and everything, and there's so much happened in your life. I mean, when I look at you and there's so much adversity in your life, and writing needs imagination, okay, and lots of experience, of course. And you come from a background of Vedas and Upanishads and of course even astrology. So how did you come out writing a thriller?
Crime is something that fascinates everyone. Mystery. For me, life is a mystery to solve. We don't know what's going to happen the next moment. Yeah. So I've always been fascinated by crime, and there is a preconceived notion about me that since I am into Vedas and astrology and Upanishads, I am a spiritual guy with no fun or only enlightenment, which is a contrast, so to say. And they forget the fact that even rishis like Veda Vyasa or Valmiki, they wrote our myths, the Mahabharata and Ramayana. They have murder in that, and that too in a gory way. If you see the death of Jarasandha, he was torn apart, and the pieces were put on opposite sides. So when people tell me that how could you write such a gory murder crime thriller, I say that even Vyasa and Valmiki wrote. So who am I compared to them? So there is nothing wrong with pursuing a career in crime fiction. That's why I wrote. And for one thing, the anchor mentioned in her introduction, I'm a huge fan of Sherlock Holmes. So I wanted my first book to be a mystery novel.
But you said in the information you've given us, it's Sherlock Holmes, J.K. Rowling, and Frederick Forsyth. Now they're all three. They write different kinds of stuff. Like J.K. Rowling is also my favorite, and so is Sherlock Holmes. But there are three different genres, and not genres, but three different styles. So why did you choose Sherlock Holmes? I mean, it needs, Sherlock is famous for observation skills, and it's mostly, he can look at a person and know where he's come from, at what time, what he's eaten, and all that. So how do you apply those kind of observation skills in your book?
Many of the people admire my quality of observation, And people say that how do you observe all these things? Say like the color of a chair or color of your eyes. Those are things that people tend to forget or tend to not observe that keenly. But for me, those are inputs that tells me what the person is or what the environment is. Actually, we perceive everything with our five senses. So once you sharpen your skills, then it's easier for people to get results, so to say. So observation is something that people tend to ignore. Everybody's in a dream world nowadays, and people are missing so many things with their lack of observation. So that is so that is one thing that fascinates me about Sherlock Holmes, and he's very focused, so to say. He doesn't like I try to emulate him on many of the things that for me, things that fascinates me or captures my imagination are something that I tend to delve into. But if anything doesn't interest me, I don't do it, and it's pretty hard. And I literally forget things that doesn't interest me. So that's a bit contrast. If you can say that I'm a pretty keen observer, but I'm also equally forgetful. So
that's quite natural. Human tendency is to focus on what really interests us. Even I just focus on what I want in my life and ignore the rest. So I think it's a very smart way of living life, because then you don't clutter your brain, okay, and you know exactly what you want. It's a sign of a focused mind, in fact, that you know exactly what you want in life. That's great. So I want to know a little bit about you, about your background, and what exactly is how are you dealing with all that's happening. So I want to know what's up with you. Tell me about you.
Okay, to put it in one word, I am just like a child that's visited Disneyland. For me, everything is, I'm in awe with the things that are happening around me, whether it is in my life or other people's life. Life in general captures me, captures my imagination. So I'm always in awe. That is one thing. Then my life, you said that it was filled with adversity. I won't consider it as an adversity. I consider it as a blessing in disguise, because I am not bothered about all the things that a person of my age are bothered about. Like I don't want to imagine myself from 10 years from now where I would be in my career. I'm not that career oriented a person, and people of normally I like the normal life, so to say, doesn't interest me. So I'm blessed enough to be born into a family where I'm taken care of and my needs are taken care of. So I can focus on what I like and I love to do. So whether I want to write a novel or whether I want to binge watch a series, I'm at a privilege to do so. Whereas most of the people are running in the rat race, whereas I am just observing the rat race. So you can't say that it was an adversity. Yeah, so you can't say
agree.
that.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's not an adversity.
Because it's the way you look at life. Absolutely, and I agree. I'm sick of the rat race too. So, or whatever. Yeah. Even I gave that up long ago when I decided I want to quit my job and just focus on being, so to say. So I think it's a great way to live life. And yes, may you stay privileged and blessed.
Thank you.
I want to ask you, how did you actually come up with this idea for a thriller? How what brought it on?
Actually, I never planned on writing, even though I wanted to be a writer. I'm a laid-back person, so it's I need someone in my life to push me. Otherwise, I'm just, yeah. So in my life, it was director Jayaraj who saw the writer in me and asked me to write a script for him. So I wrote a story and gave it to him. I was not that serious about writing or impressing him. I just wrote a story that I felt like telling. So he read it and was thoroughly impressed and told me that there were some minor adjustments to make, and he was very particular that it should be made into a movie. So he tried his best with the producers, and I too myself approached some producers, but nobody was willing at that time. I'm talking about around 7 years ago. About that time to like produce a film where it's a female protagonist, the superstar in the movie. So many people, many producers asked me to change the story to like for that to make it a superstar movie. So I didn't want to compromise on the script because the novelty of that female protagonist is what impressed Jayaraj sir in the first place. So I thought if it is not happening, then I'll give it up. So, but Jayaraj sir was very, how can you say, very
Insistent.
motivating. Yeah, insistent, not insistent, very motivating. He said that first we will publish it as a book. Once it becomes a hit, he was sure that it would become a hit, even though I wasn't. So he introduced me to some of the publishers. So first, as I wrote the script, it was too short. Like it was very crisp for the movie, but to make it into a novel, I needed to elaborate. And only then did I come to know that to publish a novel, you need 50,000 words minimum. The script only had 22,000, so I needed to increase the count. So I developed some backstories for the main characters. And once it was done, I approached my sister. Her name is Kalyani. She's a journalist and a columnist in Dubai. So she was very patient enough to go with the manuscript, go over the manuscript and editing the whole stuff. So after that, I approached Amazon first, but they were very, how can you say, they were very busy with other publications, so they didn't have time to promote a new author. So they were very accommodating enough and said that you can approach other people. So otherwise, it would closely take a year to get it published by Amazon. So then I Googled the publishing houses, and only then did I come to know of Notion Press in Chennai. And they were very accommodating as well, and they guided me through the entire publication process. And I didn't know that publication was so easy then. So they made it so easy. And by February, March, I have the book in my hand. So that was very, but unfortunately, the Corona started dancing. So I couldn't, so I couldn't go along with the marketing stuff that they had planned. We had to put on a hold for that. But although people were fascinated by the story, and many of my friends, my aunts, uncles, everybody read, and the reviews as so far are positive.
Very good.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to reading the book. So the book, yeah. So the book has, it's about mystery, of course, and I think you use some smuggling techniques in the book, right? Which are kind of are now, which you depicted, are now making news in Kerala. Is that right?
Yes, you can say that.
So was it a prophecy or a coincidence, or what was it?
It's pure imagination and sheer dumb luck. You can say that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I just followed what my creative selves told me to, and it's a good thing that you asked. At first, I was about to incorporate the like the use of diplomatic pouches for smuggling, but then in hindsight, I thought it would be too much of a controversy, and I didn't fuss. So I omitted that part. But like divine intervention, that's how these crooks in Kerala did the smuggling using diplomatic pouches. So you can't say it's a prophecy or it's a coincidence. More tend to be a coincidence than a prophecy.
Okay. So I'm sure the book must have you must have needed to research a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
So how about it? I mean, what did you refer to? I mean, what exactly did it entail? All your research.
Most of the research were done by Google and Wikipedia. I just keyed in the words and they gave me with a barrage of information. So I sifted through what I wanted and that's it. But of course, I should mention my good friend, Dr. Reshmi. She was the one who gave me valuable inputs on the forensic science or the forensic part of the story. I had had written something very childish or very how can I say foolish things about forensic science, but she was patient enough to go through the manuscript twice or thrice, I believe, and only then was she convinced that now it's good to go. So that is the research part, but I should like the research part was the fun part of it. I used to I could gather so much information about my country and about the things that normally won't make it to the headlines of many of the media outlets. So there are many things that we are still in the dark. And I have tried to shed some light to those uncharted areas, or so I want to believe. I don't know. It's up to you readers to tell me whether I did justice to that or not.
Sure, I'm gonna comment on that because I'm a very staunch believer of research for any book. Like I spend a lot of time researching. I spent six months on one book, especially my destination thriller series, because I go to some place. I stay there for 20 days, 1 month, come back and again do a lot of research, and that's how I then make the destination as my character. So yes, I believe that research is essential, and you can't compromise on that. Coming to the characters, Vivek, I believe that there are some women characters who are pretty conniving, and there are some who are vulnerable. So there's this contrasting element of women characters in your book. So what really is your take on women? What do you think women are? And what do your characters really do?
Okay, women are women. We can't define women.
Okay.
It's pretty hard for me to define woman or womanhood. That's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of women. Unique. They are unique with all the vulnerabilities or conniving or bitchiness, everything. That's what makes us men pursue women. So to put it in a nutshell. But the interesting part is as far as I know, I'm not claiming to be an expert on women, but women themselves don't know their strength. That's what I believe. Because
are you talking about the characters? Are you talking about the characters or the women in your life?
The women in my life, both the characters and the women in my life. They don't know their true potential because they are conditioned to think what the men want from them, which is not the case. They have their own individual beliefs, and they have their own ideas, and they have their own space. But I have seen very few women who tend to know who they are.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah,
Well,
of course.
You need to meet a lot of women then. You need to meet a lot more women.
Maybe. The only association I have is with my mother, my aunts, and my sisters.
Okay.
So for them, it might be the culture of Kerala. I don't know, but they themselves are conditioned. Yeah, that might be the case. I should explore women on other states or other countries to be a more acute judge of what women are.
Yes. No, I'm not going to. Let's not comment, because you see, women all over would probably watching this program. But I can tell you, you're facing one woman right now who knows exactly what she wants and is doing exactly what she wants in life. Okay, so
you are one of the women I come to know that who know who you are. Most of the women I meet don't know who they are.
And I've known this since age 7. Age 7, I knew what I wanted to do. What I wanted to do. Yeah, but I'll give you one example. I've never, since we're digressing a bit, but since we're talking about women, I'm kind of including this myself in this, that I've never really looked at myself as a woman. I've looked at myself as a human being. You know, and when you look at yourself as a human being, you kind of do away with the stereotypes which are attached to women and womanhood. So I think that's my advantage. Maybe I've grown up in that atmosphere where I'm allowed the freedom by my parents, by my family, to be a human being first. And I think that's the difference, basically. And I think most women do not have that privilege, probably. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that you need to meet a lot more women who know their minds.
That's true. You nailed it, but I should add a tidbit to that also. Most of the people, or most of the women I know, are like, the main problem with them or with society per se, because we are a male-oriented society. That's what I believe.
Absolutely,
yeah. So they want to force things or force their ideals on the women folk. That is one thing that they should not do. And the women themselves, so the progressive women like you, I don't know. Yours is a powerful voice. So if you say that you have the privilege to be a human being, that is the privilege that most of the women don't get in our society, for one thing. And there is another part of the feminist wave, you can say, who tend to like define women or to define the freedom of women to do what the men do, which is not the case. Women should do what women want to do. It's not that, it's not that men are doing this, so women should also be doing this. Many of the so-called feminist wave or the ostensible feminist wave tend to believe in that ideal, which I find flawed. It should not be so. I may be wrong. I don't know. But as far as I or the media like portrays them, that's what I believe. I don't know.
Yeah, there are all kinds of people, all kinds of women, and all kinds of attitudes and all kinds of opportunities. And I think every person, woman or man, should decide how they want to behave and should be given the freedom of choice. Yes, freedom of choice to do what they want to in their lives. I certainly believe that. It's nothing to do with feminism. It's just to do with humanism. I call it humanism. Completely. That's it. Coming back to your so coming back to your book, we were digressing. Coming back to your book, how difficult was you to really actually write it?
Writing part was the easier part for me, because my attitude towards writing is the problem. I tend to procrastinate the writing part. That's why it takes a lot of time. For me to write a book, I finished this book hardly, if you omit the laid back period, I finished the book in, say, 4 months. It just took me 4 months of writing.
Yeah,
But the process, I started writing in November, finished the first draft in Jan. Then the procrastination bug bit me. And I was laying inert or whiling away my time for close to 4 months. I didn't write a single word. I don't know why. I just didn't feel like writing, so I didn't. And from June onwards, I started writing again. And by say August, September, the fourth draft was finished. And the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th drafts were mainly minuscule additions and changing the like so-called controversial parts or stuff like that. And yeah, the writing part was easy for me. The research part was hard because I don't plan my research. I just first started writing and I just let the story take me wherever it takes, and I research according to that. So you can't say that I researched all the things about psychology or all the things about the criminal underbelly at one go. No, I didn't do that. First, I wrote the initial crime, and after that, when the subplots came, only then did my research start. Because I needed to gather so many information about policing, about the forensic science, about the technicalities of the policing, all kind of stuff. So yeah, so that is one thing. So the writing part is easy. Yeah.
Easy. So Vivek, when I write my books, when I write mystery novels, I know who's done it. It's like who done it. I know it, and I then work backwards from it. Okay, because they're mystery novels. And then, of course, the whole craft lies in making the reader guess who the murderer is or who the criminal is. And the skill of the writer lies in actually deceiving the reader, but at the same time, helping him feel satisfied when he discovers who the murderer is. Now, it's a process, you know. I feel that I sit down and really work on my plots and the red herrings and the clues and the suspects and everything. So it's a complete process for me. When you worked on your plot, did you work the same way? I mean, was it like you knew who did it, and then you plotted the political angles, the Naxalite angles, the women, the conniving women? I mean, was it like a spontaneous process for you, or did you plan it all out on a piece of paper and go that way? How was your process?
It was spontaneous. It was spontaneous. I'd never planned it. The first script I wrote for Jairaj sir was not the book. It was an entirely different story, and it had a different ending, and everything was different. But when it came to a novel, I thought the script I should deviate from the script because the script was too filmy. I didn't want my novel to be filmy. And even though the readers say that it's equivalent to a film or watching a film because the narrative style is such, but I never wanted it to be to feel like a film. It should be a proper whodunit. That's what I thought. And most of the characters that are in this book came to me while writing. I never planned of these conniving women or the criminal underbelly or the political side of it or anything. I just knew the beginning and I just knew the ending. That's all. The middle part was all during the writing. That's what. Yeah.
That is really amazing because it can get difficult because when you're writing, then it becomes a trial and a process, and whether you're kind of putting enough elements to deceive the reader or to surprise the reader. So I have to now read the book because it sounds really fascinating. Your process sounds very fascinating to me and very spontaneous, which is great. So
I just treated
yes,
it as a puzzle. I just treated it as a puzzle.
yes, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a good approach. You can try that.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
It was just like a 3,000 piece puzzle. So I don't know.
Fantastic.
I just took the first part, put it somewhere else, got the next part and put it somewhere else on the board. And only once the entire novel was written did I come to know, oh, this was what I was working on.
Yeah, that's great.
It was a surreal process of creativity. You can say that.
Fantastic. It's you call it a puzzle. You know how I look at mystery writing. You often see these people on Facebook or wherever where the painting is upside down,
Yes.
and then they're painting and you don't know what they're painting until
Yes.
you turn it and then you see a face or a statue or something. So I have always looked at mystery writing like that. I mean, when I write my novels, that you're putting in all the pieces and when you turn it around, you see the whole picture. So
Yes.
if you look at it as a puzzle, I look at it as a painting. Yeah, an upside down painting. So
That's the beauty of crime writing. People perceive
yes,
crime in different ways.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
So Vivek, I've read that you know astrology. I don't know if you know this, but I've written 2 novels which have an astro detective, okay, called
Yes.
Sonia Samath, who solves. Yes. So there are actual horoscopes in the books. If you read the Cosmic Clues, I think you have. So you know how she solves cases with the help of astrology. So astrology is not used like a magic wand. It's used like a proper scientific tool. Where towards the end she finds it's like a map for her. So you studied astrology, okay? I'm coming. So have you ever kind of now, whether it's a film script or in any of your articles or now in this thriller, are there elements of astrology in it, or do you plan to use it in some way?
I actually, long before I knew an author named Manjari Prabhu, I had a story where the protagonist solves crime using astrology. But
Really?
only then, yeah, of course. And only then did I come to know of your books through our mutual friend Tripti Desai, whom I should thank to she was the one who stroked this acquaintance between us. So she was the one who first told me about you, and after that I read some of your books, and I was like intrigued that here's a person who has written the story that I perceived in my mind long before I knew I would become a writer. So it was great. And to answer your question, sorry, you were.
No. I was saying the universe is connected in very strange ways. So
yes.
Possibly, yes, when you got the idea, at the same time, probably I got the idea, and
maybe
maybe I was destined to write it out and whatever.
Maybe,
the rest is history.
I too believe in this.
At least I met someone who had the same idea. I met someone who had the same idea.
That's great. That's great. Yes. So and to answer your question, yes, I do write about astrology in many of the novels. Sorry, not the novels. Many of the articles. In fact, the one I wrote about my grandfather on his 97th birthday, I believe. I'm not sure about the number. I started the article with Panchamahabhurusha Yoga, which you might be knowing. I will elaborate. There are 5 major yogas in astrology attributed to the 5 planets: Saturn, Mercury, Mars, Jupiter, and Venus. So my grandfather has the Mahabhurusha Yoga of Mercury. So I began the article lauding him or his works in the field of Ayurveda. I should mention my grandfather's name. Many people would be knowing. His name is Dr. P.K. Warrior, and he's the head of the institution Ayurvedishala and Kottakkal. Yes, and so I started the article through the Mahabhurusha Yoga, and there is one thing that's very, how can you say, 100% about my grandfather. He's very simple, and the simplicity is something that everyone tries to emulate, but fall short because it's pretty hard to be simple. Even though he is a Padma Award winner, and to be so humble and very down to earth is something that I try to emulate in my life as well. So yeah, to answer your question, I have written about astrology, but not that much, because for me, astrology is something I pursue to calculate the time, or to calculate the time where I should start something, or when I should chant a certain mantra, or I try to do it in a more Vedic angle than a prophetic angle. Yeah, in a way. Yeah, so I have written, but mostly my articles are about spirituality, the spiritual process of life, and how to go about it, or something like that. Yeah.
So do you regularly practice meditation and everything?
Yes, of course. I am a follower of Sri M, and he has introduced me to Kriya, and my mother as well. Both of us do that meditation every day, and I chant Vedas, Vedic hymns, and yeah, I tend to those are the source of my inspiration or my imagination. And
That's
yeah,
great.
thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I am a hugely spiritual person, of course. So I have a festival also of spirituality. But Vivek, coming to your book, I know that we're just going away and coming back, but coming to your book, what do you see now that you turned the film into a book? Do you see the book becoming a film again?
I plan to. Planning is no, that's a wrong word to use. I pray to. I never plan things. Yeah, I'm a firm believer of destiny, so I don't know how where destiny takes me. So, but I would like to see it on the big screen, preferably a web series where people binge watch my work. Yeah, that is one dream I have.
Yeah.
And let's hope and pray that it comes true.
Yeah. And you're translating your grandfather's autobiography right now.
Yes.
So is that your next project, or are you writing another whodunit or a thriller? What are you doing next?
I plan. This my translation would be my next work, because that is one thing that I'm truly like enthusiastic about, because the Malayalam version of it is something that everyone should read, because it's an inspiring story of my grandfather. And although there is an English version, according to me, it lacks the charm that the Malayalam book has. So it is my humble like idea or prayer that I am able to spark that magic into the English translation of mine. And let's pray that it too comes true. Yeah, so that is my next project. Yes.
And what about a
of course, there is a murder mystery thriller where everybody is asking me to write a sequel to this, and everybody is fascinated by this character of Maya, and so they want to see her again. So I am planning a prequel, not a sequel. I'm planning a prequel.
Okay.
Yeah, just to get to know Maya better.
So since we're talking about Maya, is there a real Maya in your life?
No,
I don't mean Maya. No. I don't mean the Maya, but a Maya.
No, I don't think so. For me, I'm not that a romantic person.
Oh, you're not.
So
okay.
No. And I'm fascinated by women, of course, but I'm not that much of a romantic to be involved with a woman. I want to be involved with all the women in my life.
That's good. Yeah. Okay, so since we're talking about Maya as a character,
Yes.
Are any of your characters based on any real characters in your life?
No, not at all. Only the names
No.
are there. I
Okay.
have a brother who's named Kishore,
Mhm.
and I have I don't know whether there is a Maya in my family. I don't know, because it's an extended family, so I tend to forget the names of many of my relatives. So,
Okay.
but yeah,
No, so-
only the names are there. Even there are two characters who are named after my brother's children, Veda and Tanmaya. They are also there, and the other cousin brother Shashank is there in the novel. So there I have adopted names, but not any characters. No, everything is purely imagination, pure
Imagination.
fiction. Yeah.
You're absolutely like me. I get asked this question quite often. Are your characters based on any real characters? And when I say no, people pounce on me. They say it's not possible. You have to base. I mean, everything comes from reality. And I keep saying that no, my characters are all come from imagination, because I write from a point of imagination like you. And probably reality has nothing to do with my plots either, because they're all fantastic thrillers based in Europe or somewhere. It's so far away from reality, and they're larger than life characters and very aspirational, empowered characters. So I feel that they don't, and nobody ever believes me. You're the first person as a writer who is completely agreeing with me that we write from a point of imagination. So great. Yes, imagination is a huge source. I agree. We don't need to dig into reality for everything. I absolutely.
Of course,
Yes.
we will be inspired by the books or the characters we saw on movies
Yes.
or something like that, but
Yeah.
never do we tend to portray people that we meet in our lives.
Right.
There may be
Right.
shades of all the any detectives.
Yes.
Like for me, there are many traits of Sherlock Holmes in Maya. She is very observant. So are many of the characters. All the characters are observant, for that matter, and they are all very highly intelligent people.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So those are qualities that that I find interesting. So I attribute it to my characters. That's all. You can't, like you said, you can't put people's name, or I'm inspired by my mother, or I inspired by my brother, or some other person to incorporate them into a novel. It's highly impossible, because uh, no normal people will do the things that we write about,
Yes.
or so
Yeah.
I want to believe.
Yeah. So, there's also this one point that people keep asking, like they say, you have to experience life to write. And they keep,
Yeah.
that's what is always said, But I say if I'm a crime writer or a mystery writer, I don't have to commit a murder to write a murder mystery, or I don't have to commit a crime to write a crime story. So that's also part of imagination, right? So how you are, can you comment on that?
Yeah, of course. Like I answered to your other question about the smuggling part that is happening in Kerala now. That was pure imagination on my part. So there are some things that we think about that comes true in our lives. That's the reality of life. It may happen to everyone in some point of time. That's all there is to it. To keep invested on it is something that I find very childish.
Yeah.
You just wrote a book, and like you said, it's not necessary to experience everything. There should be space for imagination. Otherwise, it would be a biography.
Yeah.
It would be a documentary of the things that I do in my life, which it is not. It's a fiction. The same can be said about Frederick Fawcett as well. After reading his Day of the Jackal, many assassins use his idea of taking a name from a dead person and commit a crime. That doesn't mean that Frederick Fawcett did a crime or was a grave digger. It is pure imagination. So that is something that like people tend to take everything very seriously nowadays. You have to chill a bit and enjoy life and imagine yourself, or imagine scenarios where you would find your life would be interesting. That is one motto that I believe in. Yeah, so that is one thing. And to come back to the question on the crime thing, of course, yeah. Like I said, it is something that you can imagine. You don't have to commit a crime. Or so that's what I believe. I don't know. There are many method actors who visit brothels or visit the crime underbelly to get into the skin of the character. So I don't know how they do it, but I'm not one such person. I just imagine things and write about it. And those imaginations are very wide. That I should say.
No, absolutely. Even I agree that your imagination as a writer should play a major role than reality. But not everyone will agree with me, and I don't want to refute anybody's whatever. So it's all right. So since you spoke about imagination, reality over copying imagination.
Yeah.
Your imagination precedes reality. Let's say this happened to me too. I based a book in Salzburg in a palace where the heart of a bishop was buried in the chapel. Okay.
Okay.
And in my book, that heart is stolen. Okay, very fantastic. It is a 300-year-old heart which is completely stolen, etc. And everything. It's so absurd. But you won't believe it. 6 months behind, an incident happened in Europe where the heart of a bishop was stolen from its grave in a chapel.
Yeah. Wow.
So
okay.
I don't know. This precedes reality. Imagination precedes reality, or reality. Yeah. So it can happen, and that's why I write non-gory books, because I feel at some point in life everything is connected. So your imagination could get connected to not your life but to reality on the whole. So I'm a little careful that way. Like I write cozy movies, cozy thrillers. Yeah. Yes,
okay.
You're saying.
But I believe like it's not our imagination precedes it. It is that we are ahead of the curve. We see before it happens. We can say that
it's going to happen.
It's just like the process of evolution. And we being imaginative people, we imagine that this should be so. It may not be so, but it might be so. And it is so in some cases. Yeah. So that's all that it is to it. So yeah.
That's true. Vivek, we have a question. I think because we've got just, I think, 10 minutes left now. The question is, do you have a marketing plan for the book?
Of course, like any other author, I have a marketing plan. And this is one such, just like any other peers would do, my peers would do, to post tidbits of information about my book on the Facebook page or Instagram page, or to promote my book to Amazon, other e-commerce outlets. Yeah, those kind of things. Not something something dramatic. I'm a simple person, so my methods ought to be simple. Yeah, so I don't expect any grandeur. You can expect the grandeur in the book, but not in my life.
No, why not? Once you are riding on imagination, anything is possible. Anything. Yeah. Okay, I seriously believe that. 6 years since we are talking about PI, we're talking at PILF. 8 years ago, when PILF started, it was we did it with absolutely no funds and some partners, and we didn't even know whether we would continue it ever. And 8 years, we are in our 8th year. The format has changed for this year. We are online. Who would have imagined this was possible? I was almost ready to give up, and the first day was so poorly received. So anything is possible in this world.
Because the passion or the belief or the faith, that is what drives everyone.
True.
And the sense of hope. Hope is the one thing that is still intact in the Pandora's box, or so they say. So that is what drives every human being or every life.
Yes.
And we are not an alien from it. We too are mere mortals. So We have hopes and aspirations, so we tend to live our life on that hope.
In one of my books, I've said about hope. Hope is like a horsewhip that drives you on. No matter what happens, you keep thinking, I'm going to gallop ahead. I'm going to gallop ahead. Yeah.
That's a good metaphor to use.
So, Vivek, really, I think we have last 5 minutes. Would you like to say something from your side to your readers, to people who are watching? Any messages that you want to give?
Please read my book. That is one message I want to give. And the other being, I hate this messaging part, so I don't know what to say. That is one. I'm very bad at giving messages, because I don't want people to do what I ask them to do. I want them to be independent of their thoughts. So live your life according to your beliefs, however limited it may be, or however adverse it may be. But belief, or like you said, hope is the whiplash. So whenever it hits you, just run, but enjoy the run. Instead of looking at the pain, enjoy the run, enjoy the journey. Every creative process or everything in his life is a blessing. Every breath is a blessing. So we tend to forget that. As far as we are breathing, we are alive. Life is the best gift that people are blessed with. So cherish that blessing and live your life according to your beliefs and according to your faith. And don't tend to compromise on your beliefs just because somebody said to compromise. Unless you are willing to compromise, it's up to your will. But it should be your choice and not by force. So yeah, that is one message that I think people would enjoy or take it to heart or take it to their thoughts. Food for thought. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vivek. I think you are a huge inspiration to all of us. And I love your positive attitude. I love the way you look at life. I love the way you're writing. And like you said, every breath is important. We are blessed to be alive. It's a super message to carry forward into the world. I'm going to remember it every day. Whenever I feel depressed, I'm going to think of you and think of your wise. You're so wise. You're very wise. And I think I'm taking that back with me. I wish you really good luck with your book. I hope you write lots and lots of books and they're all very successful. And keep coming back to PILF and let's see where this goes.
Yeah, let it be the beginning of a wonderful journey.
Yes, absolutely. All the very best.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Best. Thank you so much for this exciting session and insights. We wish you all the very best for your book and hope to read many more from you in the future. Our next session, War in So Many Words, will begin after a short break. See us. Please join us and see us for the same at 4:40 p.m. Thank you.